Hey guys, so we are going to be covering two big topics with functions and slope. Those are two larger topics that we've covered before, but we are going to go over both of them today. So whenever we are looking at function, not a function, we are always identifying or looking at our x values, and we want to make sure that our x values are associated with only one y value. But if you notice here, the x value of -4 is associated with 8 and -8, so this one would be not a function because x is associated with more than one y. Then if you notice over here, I always want to look at my x values here and notice that I have a line, only one line coming from each one of my x values. So this one will be a function because x is associated with only one y. It is okay for two x values to be associated with one y value. That's okay, but I do not want my x value. So if I had a number going from -1 to -9 and -7, that would make it not a function. But since each one is only going to one value. And then I always try out my graphs by doing the vertical line test, and I see that I only hit it in one spot, so this one would also be a function. Now to find my rate of change on my graph, I'm going to pick two spots where it hits a crosshair, and then I am going to do rise over run. So I'm going to go up, and if you notice, my scale over here is going by 2s, so I'm rising 2, and I'm running, my scale over here is going by 10, so I'm running 20. So I rise 2 over 20, which simplifies to 1 over 10, and it wants me to talk about the context of the problem. So when I'm rising, I'm dealing with gas stations. So I know that 1 is associated to the number of gas stations. So one gas station. And when I'm running, that's the number of miles driven. So it's one gas station for every 10 miles driven. So I know every 10 miles they drive, they're going to come across one gas station. So when I am looking at determining function and not a function, so this just kind of goes over each of the things, each of the topics that you'll see. Ordered pairs and tables. So again, each x value has to correspond with only one y value. So notice on these ordered pairs, I only have one x value, whereas down here my x value repeats, and that's what makes it not. So here's no, and here's yes. So if you see the difference there, for the yes, my x values don't repeat. For the for the no, my x values do repeat. When I have mapping diagrams, each x value is associated with only one y value. So notice how I just have one line coming from each one of those, where under the no, you see how 6 has 2 coming from it. And then when I'm dealing with graphs, it passes the vertical line test. So basically what that means is when I draw a vertical line, it hits it only one time. When I draw a vertical line here, it hits it twice. Now, when we are looking at slope, we are doing rate of change. So when I'm dealing with slope, if I have a positive slope, that means that if I'm reading from left to right, it is going up when I go from left to right. If I have a negative slope, it decreases from left to right. And then when I have a zero slope, it's a horizontal line. Undefined is if I have a vertical line. Now, we do that primarily when we do a graph, and I'm going to show you kind of over here on these. Whenever I have a graph, I have 2 points that I'm working with, and I do rise over run. So in this case, I am going down 1, 2, 3, and I am running 1, 2. So when I'm going down, that represents a negative, and then I am running 2. So my slope would be -3 over 2. When I am doing it from a table, I do my change in y over change in x. So when I'm looking at this here, to go from -2 to 1.4, I am changing by a positive 3.4. When I'm going from 0 to 2, I'm changing by 2. So this is my change in y over here. This is my change in x. So I have 3.4 over 2, which simplifies down to 1.7. And then whenever you have a situation like this, I know it gives you this formula, which kind of is confusing. So the easiest way to do ordered pairs whenever you have ordered pairs is to make yourself an X and a Y table. So this is X and that's the corresponding Y, so 2, 6. This is X and the corresponding Y, so negative 2, 7. And then just do your change in Y over change in X. So change in Y over change in X. So to go from 6 to 7, I am changing by a positive 1. When I'm going from 2 to negative 2, I'm changing by a negative 4. So I would have 1 over a negative 4, which gives me that negative 0.25. So whenever you're going through these, I've kind of put some different hints on some of them to help you out. Like remember, first pick 2 points on the graph. And then I kind of helped you out with the change in Y over change in X to help you out a little bit. So go through and practice those. If you have any questions, you can jump on Zoom tomorrow and I will help you out. Have a good day.